Zira walked alone through the metal streets of the outer district of Virelan City. The towers above her sparkled in the light of the twin suns, but down where she lived, the light barely touched the ground. The buildings here were old, the roads cracked, and the people looked away when they saw her. They always looked away. She could still hear the voices from earlier that morning. There goes the mare. She should be in the stables, not among us. Zira wasn't sure when it had started. Maybe it had always been this way. She was taller than most females of her kind, stronger too. Her arms were broad, her hands powerful. But on Virelan, beauty meant being slim and graceful. And kindness? That was seen as weakness. She had tried to fit in once, tried to join the planetary scouts. She passed all the tests with the highest scores. But during the final review, they rejected her. Too brute-like, they said. Too emotional. She remembered walking home that day, trying not to cry, but the name had already started. Mare. A name used for animals. Beasts made to carry weight and follow orders. Since then, she kept her head down and worked in the loading docks, far from the city center. Far from where the proud Virelans walked with their high collars and cold eyes. But Zira was not angry. She was just tired. Tired of pretending she didn't hear the whispers. Tired of hiding her kindness. Tired of feeling alone. That morning, she was assigned to Dock 9. A human ship had arrived during the night and it needed cargo support. Humans were new on Virelan. The Council had signed a trade deal with Earth only 2 years ago. Most Virelans didn't like the humans. Too curious, they said. Too emotional. It made Zira smile inside. The same words they had used. For her. When she reached Dock 9, she saw him. A human male working alone on the power module of a cargo unit. He had dark hair, a calm expression, and grease on his face. He looked focused, but also tired. Zira walked toward him and cleared her throat gently. He looked up. His eyes widened slightly, then softened. He didn't laugh. He didn't look away. "Hey there," he said with a friendly nod. "You here to help with the loading?" Zira nodded. "Yes, my name is Zira. I was assigned to your cargo today." The human smiled. "I'm Kai. Nice to meet you." It was the first time in a long while someone had said those words to her. They worked together in silence at first. Zira lifted heavy crates like they were nothing. Kai watched her, impressed. "You're strong," he said. Zira flinched a little. That word had always been a curse on her world. "I hope that's not a problem," she said quietly. "Why would it be?" Kai replied, confused. "It's a gift." Zira looked at him. For a second, she thought he might be joking. But there was no joke in his eyes. She smiled, just a little. They worked for hours. When the loader arm jammed, Zira climbed up and fixed the mechanism. When a data link failed, Kai showed her how to rewire it. Their teamwork became smooth, natural. And slowly, they began to talk. Kai told her about Earth, about the oceans and forests, about his small town, and how he had loved to watch the night sky as a child. Zira listened with quiet joy. She told him about the animals she took care of in the outer district, injured creatures no one wanted. She brought them back to health and set them free. "They call me a mare," she said finally, "because I care for animals, because I'm big, because I'm not like them." Kai looked at her, his face serious now. "That's not right," he said. "Back home, people like you are seen as protectors." Zira looked away. Not here. There was a silence between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence that came when words weren't enough. By evening, the cargo job was done. The ship system was repaired, and Kai wiped his hands clean with a cloth. Zira stood nearby, unsure of what to say. She didn't want the day to end. As Kai picked up his tools, he looked at her again. "I'm going to be on Virelan for another 2 weeks," he said. "I'll be working on the comm towers next. Maybe we'll run into each other again." Zira nodded, then said, quietly, "I'd like that." He smiled. "Me too." When she walked home that night, the streets were still cracked, the buildings were still old. But something felt different. She had met someone who didn't see her as less, someone who didn't use her name like a joke, and maybe, just maybe, someone who saw the real Zira, not the Mare, but a person worth knowing. The next few days passed slowly for Zira. She kept thinking about the human Kai, his voice, his kindness, the way he didn't judge her like the others did. On Viralan, time often felt heavy for her, but now it felt like it had a new rhythm. Every morning she wondered if she would see him again, and then, on the 5th day, her chance came. A message arrived at the loading station. A team was needed to assist with the tall communication towers just outside the city. The towers helped link Virelan's satellites to the ground networks. Most workers avoided this job. It was far, the winds were strong, and the towers were old. Zira didn't hesitate. She signed up and got her tools ready. When she reached the site, her heart skipped. Kai was already there, wearing his standard human work suit, inspecting a tangled mess of wires hanging from a tower panel. He turned and smiled when he saw her. "Zira," he said warmly. "Looks like we're working together again." Zira nodded, a bit shy but happy inside. "What's the problem today?" Kai showed her a panel where the circuits had melted from a sudden energy spike. "Half the tower's not responding. We'll need to reroute power and reconnect the relay up there," he said, pointing high above. Zira looked up. The tower stretched into the sky like a silver spine. The wind howled between its steel beams. "Climbable?" she asked. He smiled. "If you're not afraid of heights." "I'm not," she said. They began working together. While Kai repaired the lower control unit, Zira climbed up the tower. Her strong arms and balanced legs helped her move quickly. She reached the top platform and waved down at Kai. From below, he gave a thumbs up. At the top, Zira found the main relay completely burned out. It would need rewiring and a new converter crystal. She sent the info down to Kai, and he started, preparing the parts. The sun was starting to set, and shadows stretched across the dry fields around the tower. As she worked, Zira felt calm. The wind on her face, the feeling of doing something that mattered. It reminded her of the old dream she once had of joining the Scouts. She had always wanted to serve, to help, to protect. But they had pushed her away. Below, Kai's voice came, through the comm, sending the new crystal up now. The part came up by pulley, and Zira caught it with steady hands. She placed it into the relay, adjusted the connections, and checked the interface. Then suddenly she heard a loud pop. Though, tower vibrated. A surge of energy pushed through the system. Zira held onto the side as a blue spark shot past her, and then everything went dark. The tower lights shut off. "Kai," she called through the comm. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," he replied. Something shorted again. "Let me reroute power from the ground panel." She waited, holding her position. The wind was stronger now. She could see the lights of the city in the distance, beautiful but far away. Then she heard his voice again, quieter. "Zira, can I ask you something?" "Yes." "When you said your people call you a mare, do they really treat you that badly?" She was silent for a moment, then said, "Yes. Not all of them, but most. I don't fit into their idea of what a Viralan female should be. I'm not graceful. I'm not quiet. I care too much about small things, animals, strangers. I don't think those are bad things, I know, but on Virelan they think I'm wrong." "Then they're wrong," Kai said simply. That silence came again, the kind that didn't need words. After a few minutes, the lights blinked back on. The tower hummed softly. "Looks like we did it," Kai said. Zira smiled. "Good job, partner." She climbed down carefully. When her feet touched the ground again, Kai was waiting with a water pack and a soft look in his eyes. "You're amazing up there," he said. Zira looked at him. "You really mean that?" He nodded. "I've worked with plenty of teams, both human and alien. I've never seen anyone handle equipment and pressure like you do." Zira looked away, her face warm. Thank you. They sat on a nearby metal crate as the night breeze rolled in. The stars above Virilan were wide and bright. For a while, they just sat in silence, sipping water and enjoying the cool air. Do you ever miss Earth? Zira asked. Kai nodded. Yeah, I miss my mother's cooking, rainy nights and the ocean, but I also like being out here. It feels like I'm helping build something new. Zira looked up at the stars. That's how I feel sometimes, even if others don't see. And Kai turned toward her. I see it, I see you. She looked at him. Her heart beat a little faster. No one had ever said those words to her with such meaning. He reached into his tool pouch and pulled out a small trinket, a simple pendant with a symbol etched on it. This is the symbol of Earth's explorers, he said. My father gave it to me before I left. I want you to have it. Zira's eyes widened. But why? Because you remind me of the kind of person it stands for. Brave, strong, kind. You deserve to wear it. Her hand closed around the pendant slowly as if afraid it would vanish. Thank you, she whispered. As they walked back to the city together under the stars, Zira felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope, not just for her future, but for something deeper growing between them, something like friendship or maybe more. A week passed and the sky above Virilan turned dark with dust storms from the northern plains. The communication towers continued to flicker, and power failures began to spread in nearby cities. At first it seemed like a small issue, but soon it became clear something serious was happening. The central energy core that powered much of Virilan's outer districts had become unstable. A sensor failure had gone unnoticed for too long, and now the energy inside the core was rising dangerously. If the core wasn't stabilized soon, it could explode and destroy everything within 100 kilometers. The Virilan Council called an emergency meeting. Engineers, scientists, and military officers gathered, shouting over one another. The situation was urgent. The pressure was too high. The cooling systems were failing. No one wanted to go near the core. Zira stood near the back of the room watching. She wasn't invited, of course. She was just a dock worker in their eyes. But she had come with Kai, who was requested to attend as a human technical advisor. Kai listened carefully to the reports, then stepped forward. There's still a way to stop this, he said calmly. But we need to reach the emergency control panel inside the core chamber. Someone has to go in, reroute the power manually, and install a stabilizer. The room went silent. No Virilan can enter that chamber and survive the pressure, said one of the officers. We've already lost. 2 teams trying to access the outer doors, another added. Zira stepped forward without waiting for permission. I'll go. Everyone turned to look at her. She's not trained, someone whispered. She's just the Mare. But Kai didn't hesitate. He stepped beside her. I'll go too. The room erupted in argument. Zira looked at the council leader and said, clearly, I know the inner structure better than anyone. I've worked on the power grids for years. I'm strong enough to carry the stabilizer, and I won't panic. I can do this. Kai added, and I'll manage the systems from the control deck. We're not offering to die. We're offering to fix this. The council had no better options. Finally, they agreed. By nightfall, Zira and Kai were inside a small transport ship, flying toward the energy core facility on the edge of the northern desert. The sky outside was red with dust, and the air was thin.
Zira looked at the heavy gear beside her. A thick, heat-resistant suit, a helmet, a pack holding the stabilizer crystal. I'll guide you from the control room, Kai said gently. We'll stay connected through the comms the whole time. Zira
Nodded. I'm ready. When they landed, the air was buzzing with static. The facility looked like a huge black dome surrounded by sharp metal towers. Everything around it hummed with unstable energy. Inside the control room, Kai sat in front of a large console. Screens blinked with warning signs. All right, he said. Outer chamber door is opening. Be careful. Zira walked through the first door. The hallway inside was hot, filled with mist and blinking lights. Pipes hissed around her. She moved slowly but confidently. As she walked, she remembered her childhood dreams. She had always wanted to be a scout, someone who could explore, protect, and serve. But no one had ever believed in her. Until now. "Kai," she said into her. "Come, do you ever wonder why some people are born different?" "I think it's because the world needs different kinds of strength," he replied. "Not everyone fits into one mold. That's what makes us valuable." Zira smiled behind her helmet. She reached the inner chamber. The heat was intense. The red glow of the core made the air shimmer. Panels had melted and sparks flew from broken wires. The control console was covered in dust and broken glass. "I'm here," she said. "Start with the power reroute. The access panel is to your left." Zira began to work. Her fingers moved quickly, reconnecting wires, bypassing broken links. The heat made her sweat, but she stayed focused. "Okay, reroute is in place," she said. "Installing stabilizer. Now." She reached into her pack and pulled out the crystal. It pulsed with blue light. Carefully, she placed it into the central slot. Suddenly, the core pulsed and the floor shook. "Kai, I need guidance." "Hold it steady. Don't move your hand from the panel. The crystal is sinking. Just stay still." Zira held her breath. The air was so hot now it hurt to breathe. Her arms began to shake. The weight of her body armor pulled at her shoulders. The crystal pulsed again, stronger. She gritted her teeth and forced herself to stay steady. "It's working," Kai shouted. "Just a few more seconds," the system beeped. The lights turned from red to green. Then everything went quiet. Zira let out a breath and stepped back, almost collapsing. "You did it." Kai's voice came through the comm, full of relief and pride. She smiled, even as she sank to her knees. 2 hours later, they were back on the transport, flying home. Zira sat with her helmet off, her hair damp, her body tired, but her heart full. Kai sat across from her, watching her silently. "You saved Virilan," he said. "We saved it together," she replied. "But they'll probably still call you a mare," he added softly. Zira looked at him and nodded. "Let them. I know who I am now, and I know what I'm worth." Kai smiled. "So do I." As the ship flew under the stars, a calm silence settled between them. Zira wasn't just strong. She was brave. She was enough. And now someone truly saw her. When Zira returned to the city, she didn't expect a parade. She didn't even expect thanks. But somewhere deep in her heart, a quiet hope lived. Hope that maybe now, after saving the energy core and stopping the destruction, her people would finally see her as more than just a mare. But the truth was harder. The council made a public announcement. They praised the mission. They said the energy crisis was under control. But when they named the heroes, they only mentioned Kai, the human advisor. His name was displayed on the holoscreens. His image flashed across the city networks. Zira's name was left out. Again. She stood at the edge of the crowd, hidden behind workers and citizens, as cheers filled the air for Kai. But Kai noticed. He stood on the stage, holding the council's award plaque in his hands. His smile faded as he looked across the crowd and spotted Zira in the back. He stepped forward, cleared his throat, and raised the microphone. "Thank you," he said, "but there's something wrong here." The crowd fell silent. "I didn't do this alone. The real hero is standing over there in the back. Her name is Zira." Heads turned. Kai continued, voice strong. Zira entered the core chamber. Zira installed the stabilizer. Zira risked her life while others stood back. And yet, you ignore her, just like you always have. Some people in the crowd lowered their eyes. Others whispered. Kai looked around. "You call her a mare, as if that's something shameful. But on Earth we have another name for someone like her, Guardian." He stepped down from the platform and walked toward Zira. The crowd parted. When he reached her, he handed her the plaque. "This belongs to you," he said. Zira stood still, shocked. She felt every eye in the plaza watching her. She took the plaque slowly, her hands trembling. No one said anything, not at first. But then, a young Virilan boy stepped forward. He held a small drawing. Zira recognized herself in it, standing, tall beside a blue glowing energy core. "I drew this," the boy said quietly. "You're my favorite now." Zira knelt and took the picture. "Thank you," she whispered. From that moment, things began to change. Slowly, some workers greeted her by name. A few neighbors nodded when she passed. It wasn't full respect, but it was something, a start. That evening, Zira sat outside her small home looking at the stars. Kai joined her with 2 warm drinks in his hands. He handed one to her. "You okay?" he asked. Zira took a deep breath. "Yes, I think I'm finally okay." Kai looked up at the sky. "It's strange. Back home, you'd be a legend. On Virilan, you're still climbing the first step." Zira smiled softly. "But I climbed it." There was silence for a while. The air was peaceful. Zira turned to him. "Why did you do it?" "What do you mean? Why did you defend me in front of everyone? You could have kept the spotlight." Kai chuckled. "I didn't come to Virilan for fame. I came to help. And you, Zira, you helped me more than anyone." He paused, then added, "You didn't just save the energy core. You reminded me what bravery looks like." Zira looked into his eyes. They were honest, kind, warm. "I used to believe no one would ever look at me that way," she said softly. "Then they were wrong," Kai replied. She felt something shift in her chest, a feeling she had tried to lock away for years, something soft, something real. But before she could speak again, a loud knock came at her door. It was a council messenger. "The Prime Counselor wishes to meet with you," he said. Zira raised her eyebrows. "Now?" "Yes." Urgently. She followed the messenger to the highest tower in Virilan City. It was her first time stepping into the white glass building. The walls shimmered with soft light, and guards stood in silence on each floor. The Prime Counselor, an older Virilan with silver skin and sharp eyes, waited inside his chamber. "I hear you're a hero now," he said dryly. Zira stood tall. "I'm just someone who did what had to be done." The counselor nodded slowly. "We ignored you. That was a mistake. The city would have fallen without your actions." Zira didn't reply. "You were once rejected from the planetary scouts," he continued. "I'm prepared to offer you a position, lead engineer, full rank, full honors." Zira blinked. It was what she had dreamed of for years. But now she wasn't sure. She thought of her quiet life, of Kai, of her animals, of the freedom she had found. "I appreciate the offer," she said carefully, "but I don't need rank or honors to help others." The counselor raised an eyebrow. "You're turning it down?" "No," Zira said. "I'm choosing my own path." She walked out of the chamber without waiting for permission. Back home, Kai was still waiting. When Zira returned, he stood up quickly. "What happened?" he asked. "They offered me a big title," she said. "And?" I said no. Kai looked surprised, then smiled. "That sounds like you." They sat again under the stars, closer this time. Zira turned to him. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you think someone like me could ever be loved?" Kai didn't answer with words. He simply reached out and took her hand. His fingers were warm, gentle. "I already do," he said quietly. Zira felt her heart rise like the wind. The stars above Varellan seemed brighter that night, and this time, for once, the word Mare no longer hurt. It sounded strong, like someone who carried weight without breaking, like someone who protected without fear, like someone finally learning what it meant to be loved. Days passed peacefully after Zira's brave decision. She didn't take the council's title or join the scouts, but her life began to change in quiet, meaningful ways. People no longer turned their backs when she walked by. They greeted her. Some with a nod, others with a word of thanks. It was slow, but it was real. The name Mare still existed, but now it held a new meaning. Not as an insult, but as a sign of someone strong, steady, dependable. Zira had become something her world never expected, respected without needing permission. Kai was still by her side. The Earth mission had been extended, and he chose to remain on Virilan for as long as needed. The technical issues across the northern zones required attention, and he was the best engineer for the job. But more than the work, he stayed because of her. They spent evenings together, fixing old gadgets, talking about stars, or simply watching the lights from passing transport ships. Sometimes they laughed over simple things. Other times they shared long silences that spoke louder than words. One evening, as they walked near the fields beyond the city, they found an injured animal, a small winged creature with a torn wing. Zira picked it up gently, examining it with care. "It's scared," she whispered. Kai crouched beside her. "It trusts you." "I used to think I had nothing to give," she said, wrapping the creature in her scarf. "But maybe kindness is something." "It's everything," Kai replied. They brought the creature back home, and over the next few days Zira nursed it back to health. Watching her care for it reminded Kai of something he had felt from the start. Zira's strength came not from how she fought, but from how she protected. One night, as stars blinked across the sky, Kai looked at her and said, "You don't know what you've done for me." Zira looked puzzled. "I didn't do anything." "Yes, you did," he said. "You reminded me what real strength looks like. I came here thinking I would help fix machines, but instead, I found something I never expected." Zira felt her chest tighten. "What did you find?" He reached out, gently took her hand and said, "Home." Her eyes widened. Her throat tightened. For a long moment she couldn't speak, and then softly, she smiled. "So did I." Word of Zira and Kai's teamwork continued to spread, not just in the city but across other regions of Virilan. Some humans who worked in trade missions asked to meet her. Young Varellan girls started sending her letters asking for advice, thanking her for giving them courage. One day a small group of scouts in training came to her door. "We're taught to follow instructions," one girl said, "but we want to learn how to think for ourselves. Will you teach us?" Zira didn't know what to say at first, but Kai stood beside her and said, "You should." And so she did. She opened a small training hall near the loading docks. Nothing fancy, just open ground, old parts, and a few books. But young minds came anyway. She taught them not just about machines and systems, but about kindness, courage, and self-respect. Even the council began to notice. They sent word, offering to sponsor her lessons officially. Zira accepted, but only on one condition. No rules about what kind of student can join. Anyone is welcome. They agreed. As time passed, something else began to grow, something even stronger than respect or responsibility. Love. It came quietly, in small moments. A shared smile, a gentle touch, a whisper in the dark. Kai and Zira never needed big words. What they had was deeper than speech. It was trust. It was understanding. It was real. One day, as they sat beneath the stars with the now healed winged creature perched on Zira's shoulder, Kai reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small ring-shaped charm. It was simple, made of soft metal, shaped like a coil from one of the first towers they fixed together. "I don't know if your world does this," he said nervously, "but on Earth, we give this when we want to stay with someone forever." Zira took the charm, holding it between her fingers. "No one ever asked me that before," she said quietly. "Maybe no one ever saw you right," Kai answered. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. But this time they were tears of happiness. "See you," she said, "and I want to stay too." They didn't have a big celebration, no fancy ceremony. Just close friends, a few humans, a few aliens, and many of Zira's students. The winged creature flew high above the crowd, making everyone laugh. They exchanged simple words. I choose you. And that was enough. Later that night, as they sat together watching the sky, Kai turned to her. Do you regret not joining the council or the scouts? Zira shook her head. They told me I didn't belong, but I found a better place. Here? Here, with you? He smiled. They called you a mare, but to me, you're a legend. Zira laughed softly. Let them keep their words. I have my life. The stars sparkled above them. The night breeze carried laughter, peace, and hope. And in that moment, under a sky filled with distant suns, a once lonely alien woman and a human from a faraway world sat side by side. Two hearts. One future. More than either of them had ever expected.